I'm your host. I'm your host, Davina Shinsky, and you're listening to Live Without Limits, Dreams Come True with the Right Mindset. And today's presentation is on anxiety. And why are we talking about anxiety? Well, everyone feels anxiety at certain times. And another thing to think about is this, that from early on, you've probably experienced some anxiety and that was never resolved, so that later in life, that anxiety can come up and it can show itself by affecting your health. So, do the 333 rule and the 5430, or rather 54,321 method help people struggling with anxiety. While the above quote may be useful for some, for others, anxiety can feel as though it's taking over. In truth, it can feel really crippling, causing you to freeze and making you unable to carry out your day-to-day tasks. If you're experiencing severe anxiety, we encourage you to seek out the professional help that you need and deserve. In the meantime, you can use the 54,321 rule or the 333 rule for anxiety, and perhaps you'll also use these continually to help ground yourself. These two grounding techniques give you a moment to step away from those anxiety inducing thoughts, decreasing the intensity in which you feel them. So let's dig into them a little further. Does counting actually help anxiety? How do you perform 54,321 rule and the 333 rule for anxiety? Does counting help anxiety? Counting objects, movements, and more can offer you something else to focus your attention on as opposed to those anxious feelings. In many ways, counting techniques for anxiety coincide with mindfulness therapy. Mindfulness therapy works by forcing you to be in the moment, relaxed, and focused. Similar to grounding techniques, this helps you zoom out of the negative and anxious thoughts and steer your focus elsewhere, such as to the present moment. The 54,321 rule and the 333 rule for anxiety involve aspects of this and counting. Again, this offers something else to focus your attention on until your anxious feelings subside. The great part about this technique is that they can also be performed anywhere at any time. While inevitably you'll need practice to help calm your anxiety. In crowded or public areas, these techniques offer something that you can turn into during the times of deliberating anxiety and provide you with self-reliant strategy. So, how can you use these techniques in your daily life? Anxiety counting techniques. Anxiety doesn't have to be, or it doesn't have to rule your life. In fact, you can rule your anxiety. The truth is that you always have more control than you think. Anxiety counting techniques can help you take back the control and help you get to where you want to be. The 333 rule for anxiety and the 54,321 rule are helpful for oncoming panic attacks and even for mild forms of anxiety. So, what are they exactly? What is the 333 rule for anxiety? No one wants to feel anxiety. Unfortunately, our brain is somewhat wired for this feeling due to the old age survival networks. Luckily, the 333 rule can help you calm this natural response and feel better. The number three has a long time been associated with mid-body connections, optimism, and good luck. Thus, it's no surprise that it's making an appearance in anxiety reducing techniques. So, how can you apply it in this life? Here's a step by step guide. Step one, three things in sight. The moment you feel and recognize the next incoming wave of anxiety, take a moment to pause, focus on your visual field and the objects around you. Then name three objects within the visual view. As you list them, make sure to pay close attention to the details of these objects. Notice the brush strokes on the painting or the folds in the blanket or sheets. This is important since it helps you to really pay close attention to the present moment and what is visually in front of you. Step two, three things that you hear. Once you've listed and noticed the three things in sight, open up your ears. Make a note of three sounds that you hear. This might be traffic in the background, the wind, the birds chirping, your SO in the other room, or rather your significant other in the next room, or anything else. Again, ensure that you really take those sounds in. Do they have rhyme? Do they grow and fade in pitch and volume? Truly take the time to notice these things. Step three, three things that you can touch. Now it's time to move onto your sense of touch. And this actually doesn't involve touching anything. Rather, it's about turning into your body. You choose three body parts to move. For instance, maybe you decide to wiggle your toes or fingers, or perhaps you gently move your head from side to side. Or maybe you gently tap your fingers against your thighs. Whatever first comes to mind here works. The goal is to do three of these movements. If you find one round of this wasn't enough, start back to step one and continue to repeat until your anxiety has fully dissipated. What is the 54,321 method of anxiety? The 4,000, or rather the 54,321 rule follows a similar step-by-step process as the 333 rule, except with a few key differences. This grounding technique for anxiety actually engages all your senses, really forcing you to focus on the present moment as opposed to your anxious feelings. So, how do you do this? Well, step one is 5 things that you see. Similar to the 333 rule for anxiety, you want to look around at your visual field and find 5 things that you can see. You can also want to take in the details, noting things that you might like or don't like about them. Step two, 4 things that you can feel. Again, this very much mimics the 333 method. In this step, you want to take note of the things that you feel, such as wind blowing on your face, the chair in on your back of your thighs, or your hand resting gently beside your leg. Step three, 3 things that you can hear. We've seen this before in the 333 rule. This is the exact same thing. Can you hear the tree leaves in the wind? Traffic in the background? Water running? Find 3 things that you can hear. Step 4, 2 things that you can smell. This one can be very tricky, but if you can, name 2 smells around you. If this isn't available to you and you don't smell anything, try to think of 2 smells that you enjoy and focus on taking those in. What about a rose or the smells of something that you enjoy cooking? Step 5, one thing that you can taste. Maybe you're sipping on water, or perhaps you have that coffee aftertaste in your mouth. Whatever the case may be, this last step is simply to focus on one taste. If there aren't any tastes that you can easily identify, choose one that you enjoy and focus on it. Will these methods work for you? There's only one way to find out. Try them out. The 54,321 rule and the 333 rule for anxiety have helped many individuals overcome anxious feelings and ground themselves. The goal is to truly immerse yourself in each step so that you're focusing on coming from the sense as opposed to narrowing in on those anxious feelings. Also, anxiety is something that you can feel simply because you come from a toxic environment where you have someone constantly telling you how you can't succeed. And even though, whether we realize it or not, emotional abuse is much, much worse than physical abuse because the pain from the physical abuse goes away, but that emotional abuse sticks with you from life. Now, the title of this show is Live Without Limits, Dreams Come True with the Right Mindset. And I have a 5-day challenge called Change Your Thoughts, Transform Your Life. And on each day, we discuss something different. On the first day, It's all about those unconscious thoughts and how they affect you and how you can change them. The second day, we're going to be talking about toxic relationships and how they affect your mental health. The third day, we will talk about the workplace culture and the elements. The fourth day, we talk about how to change those negative thoughts into positive ones, how to change your thinking, how to get rid of those thoughts, how to be aware when they're first coming on, and how to stop them before they become so overwhelming. And then on the last day, we're going to talk about reviewing everything that we talked about through the first 4 days. And then we're going to talk about where do you go from here. Now, I also have some e-learning courses. I have an 8-week mastermind, and I have a few other ways that we can help you to turn things around. And I want you to go to changeyourthoughtschallenge.com /join the challenge to take part in the 5-day challenge. And I look forward to seeing you there.